Retiring is like learning to swim. You really never know if you're ready until you jump into the deep end of the pool. Hi, my name's Wes with WeWa on the Net. Thank you for joining us today. So I had a chat the other day with a good friend who's retiring in a few months. Last year we'd briefly discussed retirement and talked about my short time as a retiree. We talked some about money, kind of what I was doing with health insurance, and what I did with all that extra time I was having now that I've retired. He seemed pretty set on retirement, but as it's getting closer, I could hear the worry in his voice. I tried to reassure him that everything would be okay, but I could tell he wasn't convinced. I remember the months before I retired. No matter how sure I was ready, I worried if I was making the right decision. Work was not as fun as it had been. I really liked the guys and the gals that I worked with, the customers. But since the pandemic, things changed. Not to be too political, but I don't know if things will ever be the same. So I knew it was time to move on. So every morning before work, as I was having my morning coffee, I'd pull out my calculator and I'd start crunching the numbers. I don't think the numbers ever changed. But I kept on topping them in. I knew I just had to be missing something. I reviewed our Social Security income. I figured our monthly expenses really to the penny, or so I thought. I applied a conservative rate of return on our income savings and a not so conservative rate of inflation. Every morning I'd get the same results. We'd be fine. I studied the 4% rule and the 25 times current earnings rules, but I was still worried. Company insurance had always been great. Would Medicare be so good? I worried, after I pass, will there be enough left for my wife? And would we be able to leave a little bit for our kids and grandkids? I guess retiring is like learning to swim. You never really know until you jump into the deep end of the pool. Well, it's going on 3 years since I retired, and so far so good. Things I worried about before retirement have turned out to really be no big deal. Medicare has been good so far. Retirement funds, they've been up and down, but are doing a little better than anticipated. Well, at least until the last couple of weeks, I guess. Inflation is a big concern, but I'm not too worried about it yet. I lived through the 1970s when inflation was over 10%. If it gets back up there, I think we'll be able to adjust and handle it. So the things I didn't expect to be a problem, they've mostly been non-financial. And I think this may be the case with many new retirees. One thing I wish that I had included my wife more in the retirement process. You know, I failed to consider how much me retiring would affect her and her lifestyle. And I can tell you that's been a problem. I also realized how much work had become a part of my identity. Since retirement, I've kind of had to find a new identity and a purpose in life. It surprised me. Health and mortality, I think about that a lot. You know, it's kind of always there in the back of my mind. So when I assured my friend everything would be okay and not to worry so much, I think I spoke from experience. My friend, he's much smarter than me. For years I've gone to him for advice. I know he's crunched the numbers. I know he's developed a good retirement plan. I have no doubt that he's ready and will be and do just fine in retirement. So I guess if I have any additional advice from a friend, it would be keep it simple. Don't worry so much about it. Everything will be fine. I know you're ready. You know, kind of a quote that I've heard is the only thing worse than retiring too soon may be retiring too late. Wes out.